Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. At least clap. At least clap. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopichana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Mr. Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parajikacharya Ashtotar that Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavin ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Kwanturaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. And Samaveta Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. All right, I'm sorry, you have to give me a second here to cue this up. I failed to do. It's 57? 57. You covered a lot of verses while I was gone.
What verse were we on?
Way back. I lost the number. Anyway, we're okay. Let's go, right? Okay. Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriyet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 26th day of December 2018 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in Canto 4 entitled The Creation of the Fourth Order. Chapter 8, Dhruva Maharaj leaves home for the forest. Text number 57. Svechavatara Charitar Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamo. Whoops. Gamam. Sorry about that. Svechavatara Charitar Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Svechavatara Charitar Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Well. Svechavatara Charita Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Mukunda. Svechavatara Charita Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Svechavatara Charita Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Svechavatara Charita Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Go ahead. Svechavatara Charita Achinta Nijamaya Karishyat Uttama Shlokas Tadhyaye Dvidayangamam. Swa-icha, by his own supreme will. Avatara, incarnation. Charitai, activities. Achintya, inconceivable. Nijamaya, by his own potency. Karishyati, performs. Uttama Shlokaha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tat, that. Dhyayet, one should meditate. Vidayamgamam, very attractive. So Narada Muni is still speaking to Dhruva, giving him instructions. My dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations, as exhibited by his supreme will and personal potencies. Purport. Devotional service comprises 9 prescribed practices: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving, offering everything to the deity, etc. Here, Dhruva Maharaj is advised not only to meditate on the form of the Lord, but to think of his transcendental pastimes in his different incarnations. Mayavadi philosophers take the incarnation of the Lord to be in the same category as the ordinary living entity. This is a great mistake. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not forced to act by the material laws of nature. The word srecha is used here to indicate that he appears out of his supreme will. The conditioned soul is forced to accept a particular type of body according to his karma given by the laws of material nature under the direction of the Supreme Lord. But when the Lord appears, he is not forced by the dictation of material nature. He appears as he likes by his own internal potency. That is the difference. The conditioned soul accepts a particular type of body, such as the body of a hog, by his work and by the superior authority of material nature. But when Lord Krishna appears in the incarnation of a boar, he is not the same kind of a hog as an ordinary animal. Krishna appears as Varaha avatar in an expansive feature which cannot be compared to an ordinary hog's. His appearance and disappearance are inconceivable to us. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is clearly said that he appears by his own internal potency for the protection of the devotees and the annihilation of the non-devotees. A devotee should always consider that Krishna does not appear as an ordinary human being or ordinary beast. His appearance as Varaha Murti or a horse or tortoise is an exhibition of his internal potency. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Ananda Chinmayadasa Pratibhavitabihi. One should not mistake the appearance of the Lord as a human being or a beast to be the same as the birth of an ordinary conditioned soul who was forced to appear by the laws of nature, whether as an animal, as a human being, or as a demigod. This kind of thinking is offensive. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has condemned the Mayavadis as offensive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of their thinking that the Lord and the conditioned living entities are one and the same. Narada advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, which is as good as the meditation of concentrating one's mind on the form of the Lord. As meditation on any form of the Lord is valuable, so is chanting of different names of the Lord, such as Hari, Govinda, and Narayan. But in this age, we are especially advised to chant the Hare Krishna mantra as enunciated in the Shastra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Jnana Timirandasya, Jnanandana Shalakaya, Chakshurun Militam Mena, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, Narada Muni is almost finished with his transcendental instructions to Dhruva Maharaj concerning his sadhana that he's going to perform in the forest there, with the expressed aim of getting a kingdom greater than his great-grandfather's, who was Lord Brahma himself. But as we see, over the last few days, you've heard that all of these things that Narada Muni is instructing him to do are within the realm of Bhakti Yoga. He's got the chanting of the holy name, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Apparently it's only 3 times a day, but it's still chanting. He's got the meditation on the form of the Lord within the heart, which we heard in great detail, beautiful form of Vishnu described. And he's got rudimentary deity worship. It's mentioned in, because I read through, it's mentioned here about one can create, there's different kinds of murtis or deities that one can worship and meditate on. We are familiar with the traditional deity made of stone, wood, brass, and I don't know if you all know that, but the deities in Mayapur are made of like 8 metals, one of which is gold. It's a special combination, very, very beautiful. So there are obvious deities we know of, but there are also deity in the mind. One can worship a deity in the mind. Or as Dhruva is going to do, as I mentioned in the purport, to create a deity from the clay and worship that, and then at the end of the day wash away, and then the next day make a new one. And that's still deity worship. It all depends on your devotion and your absorption and your...
Like, it's a girl and it's a sister.
Deity?
Deity.
No, you're thinking deity, which is sister. This is deity, an English word that means the Lord, and the ISKCON lingo Prabhupada gave us means the Lord, the form of the Lord on the altar, generally the deity form. But wait, save the questions till later at the end. So, Dhruva has a full program of worshipping, and Prabhupada mentions here that there are 9 processes, and he's engaging in many of them, if not all of them. Certainly hearing and chanting, when he chants that mantra, he is hearing and meditating, thinking. So his desire for that kingdom is actually being transformed by the process that he's been given. And we know at the end of the whole process, when he gets the darshan of Vishnu, he expresses his desire that he doesn't want the kingdom anymore. So here I wanted to focus on Prabhupada's points that he makes about Krishna being different from us in how he appears. Often you'll find Prabhupada making arguments against the Mayavadis in his purports, and that's part of the mission of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, is to defeat the Mayavadis, who their influence is very strong. We may not even realize it in the West because it's rare to find a formal Mayavadi who studied Vedanta Sutra and everything. But the impersonal idea that the absolute, whatever force is out there, is impersonal. That's very powerful. Generally, people in the modern age, if they worship anything really sincerely, they're worshiping nature, or they're worshiping money. But nature, you have to wait till the end. I'm sorry, Nijir. That is kind of a offshoot of impersonal philosophy of Mayavad, because the whole idea is that everything else is impersonal. We're the persons; we can control it, and especially with nature, we feel that this is the whole ethos of the modern day, and that's why churches are emptying out. I don't know if you know this, but thousands of them are closing in the United States every month, or certainly every year. I read an incredible statistic, hundreds and hundreds every week and every day, because people just aren't interested. Young people aren't interested. It doesn't seem to compute. Certainly the old adages from the Bible and everything that doesn't seem to have any pertinence today for many people. So this is a sign of the degradation of society, is that people can't even believe in God in a rudimentary way, what to speak of except the philosophy of the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad Gita. So, Prabhupada, one of his main missions is to combat this atheism, impersonalism, and establish the form of God, and that the supreme form of God is Krishna. That was one of his main missions. That's why when, in the early days when the society was being formed, and it was suggested that he call it the International Society for God Consciousness, which people could more relate to, he said, no, we're going to keep it as Krishna consciousness, and we're going to make sure that people understand that Krishna is God. He is the Supreme Personality of God. So one of the things that is emphasized here is the difference in how Krishna appears compared to how we appear. We're also getting our little incarnations, one after another, but we're forced by our activities. Our material activities form a certain set of karma, a certain mentality, and that we're forced by that karma and that mentality to take a certain form, and it may be a very abominable form like a hog's. So, karmana daivanetena jantu dehopatye striyapavishta uradam pungsoreta kanashriya. This is one of the teachings of Kapila Dev. And he says, karmana daivanetrena. Daivanetrena means by the supervision of the divine. It could be the demigods or the super soul. And according to your karma. Everyone is experiencing this in this transmigration. Jantu deho papatre. The jantu, the living entity in the material world, takes another body. Deha upapatye. Now, here is specifically speaking about human, more or less human reincarnation. Striyapavishta uradam pungsoreta kanasha. The pungsa, this is again the jiva, he's taking shelter of a particle of semen and being inserted in a woman's womb. That's described right there. So it's all, it's all completely determined. Once you have finished with human life, and generally people, they die completely in ignorance, they don't know what they're doing. So they've created certain karmic reactions and certain mentality, and in this age it's almost all vikarma and horrible mentality. And so generally, I think we can assume most people lose their human form of life when they die in this age, unless they're able to chant one Hare Krishna mantra. So, but it's a great hazard. That's said to be the greatest fearful danger, is to lose the human form of life. How many years we've come up, different species to come up to this human form. I was reading that wonderful biography about Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Siddhanta Vaibhava, and I didn't pick out this section, but it was a fascinating section. They're all fascinating. And it was about, one of the ones was his verses, the verses that he liked to quote. And the last one, he said one that he said, I'll be chanting this until the day I die, you know, again and again and again. Labdva sudurlabam idam bahusambamante manushyamata damanitchamapi hadira turnam miteta napatena namrityavad nikshe saya vishayas kalusarvataksya. This is in the 11th canto. I don't think it's part of the Uddhava Gita, but Prabhupada always quoted, Labdva sudurlam abidam bahusambhavante manusham. You've achieved the human form, manusham, after very difficult and rare form, and going through many, many, many lifetimes. Sudurlabam idam bahusambhavante means many lifetimes. Manusham. Now, it is artadam, means like, unlike all the other forms, these lower forms, it can give you the actual goal of life. In other words, it's the one juncture by which you can get out of this world, this bondage of birth and death. This is horrible. So, no, you have to wait till the end. Keep your notes, and then we'll leave a question and answer period, okay? Otherwise, it's too distracting. Anityam, but it's temporary like all the others. And so one has to be dhira. One has to be sober-minded. That verse is right there, dehinos minyata dehebers. It means thoughtful. And with that thoughtfulness, one has to turnam yateta, strive immediately, without delay. The delay is part of Maya. That's procrastination. It's a mode of ignorance. That's Maya's trick. Oh, we have so much time. I'm going to have my whole life ahead of me. Why? You know, it's a gradual process. I'll take, that whole thing. No, this verse says, Turnam yateta. Yateta means to strive. Because death is always following you, right behind you. Anumritya yavat. As long as you haven't died yet, as long as you have your wits about you, strive for what? Nikshayasa, the ultimate good, liberation and going back home, back to Godhead, Prabhupada's immortal phrase. Because we've experienced every single kind of sense gratification there is in all these other lifetimes. How many times have we been going around this Ferris wheel? Millions of births of Brahma, who knows? So there's nothing we haven't seen or done. Everything is punak punascharvita charanadam, chewing the chewed. So don't waste your time in that. Don't waste a valuable human life. Strive for the ultimate good, going back to God. So it's a wonderful verse. So the difference is Krishna is not forced to appear. He appears by his own sweet will. Who knows, for extra credit, that verse in the Bhagavad Gita describing how Krishna is describing how he appears, and he uses this word atma maya, by my own energy. Ajo pisan. Avyayatma. Bhutanam isharopisan. Pakatim samadishtaya sambhavam yatma maya. Now, interestingly enough, until recently, that verse didn't have the translation of that word atma maya, which Prabhupada so much emphasizes in this purport and even in the purport to the Gita verse. So it's in there now. By my own energy. So although I am unborn, although my transcendental body never deteriorates, abhyayatma, this word abhyaya appears more than any other single word in the Bhagavad Gita. Check it out. Ajopisan abhyayatma bhutanam, although I am the Lord of all creatures, I, again and again, yuga after yuga, I appear in my own form by my own energy, atmamaya, by my internal energy. In other words, Krishna wills to come, whether he comes as the boar, or he comes as Matsya, the fish, or he comes as Nishringa, half man, half lion. You notice each one of those avatars, he comes that way to fulfill a certain need. When the earth was all inundated with water, what's necessary? A big fish who can save the Vedas. When Brahma offered all these benedictions, he had to come in and just the avatar that fit the benedictions. So he's half man, half lion. He's not a man, he's not a lion, you see. And all the other benedictions, And for the hog, for the boar, he needed that snout to root out that earth and bring it up to the surface of the water. So he's coming specifically to fulfill the needs of the devotees for their salvation. So that's why he comes in by his own potency. So they're inconceivable. This is certainly inconceivable to us. And what is the difference? His body itself is not composed of the earth, water, fire, air, ether. Ananda chinmaya rasa. His body is composed of internal energy, the Sambit Shakti or the Sandini Shakti. So one should not mistake his appearance for ours. Lord Chaitanya has condemned the Mayavadis as offensive because of their thinking the Lord is a conditioned living entity and like us. So then Narada Muni advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord. Now, just in Srila Prabhupada, when he started this movement, it was very much a change course as things change. In other words, Prabhupada started in the only way he could with the chanting of the holy name. I just heard a lecture, and he's describing how he saw the beginning as chanting in Tompkins Square Park. Now, I had no call, he says. He had a little dundubi, half of a bongo drum, and he played that. You can hear him, the skill playing on it. He's doing riffs on there for hours. He went to 2 to 5. He says on Tompkins Square Park. And, people gathered around, and Brahmananda got up and started dancing, and, Chutananda, you may have seen some of those. So we saw that as the beginning. It's always the chanting is the beginning. In this age, people can't, you get the heavy philosophy, they can't understand. But they can understand the chanting. It gets going, I told you about the Taurya Trikena revolution. Taurya means 3 things, Triketa, playing musical instruments, singing, and dancing. Now you can see how those are such agents of Maya. Think of all the clubs and the raves and the big rock concerts. It's all full of singing and playing musical instruments, if they call it that, In all my life, even though I'm a child of the 60s, I couldn't take those that loud, Never, I could never do. But anyway, that's what it is. And it just completely mesmerizes people. And it goes on and on. So Lord Chaitanya took those very same things, this playing musical instruments and the dancing and the singing, in the mode of pure goodness, and as the best way to attract the minds of these Kali Yugites to Krishna. And it's worked. It's so powerful. Vijayate, Shri Krishna saying, Kirtanam, victorious overall. So it's a meditation. I read this wonderful book. Many of you are familiar with it, Japa, by Burijan Prabhu. I read it twice on my way on the plane and before I came again. It's a wonderful book, and he's exactly getting to the nub of the problem, which is how to control the mad mind and fix it on the holy name, chanting one mantra, that whole thing. It's a great book. It's really where the sadhana should be applied, is how to improve our japa, and with the japa improvement, believe me, you'll improve your kirtan. Your absorption in the holy name in every respect will be there. So I highly recommend that book. I recommended it in Chicago, but I haven't been able to find it in digital form. Maybe I'll write to. They don't have it yet. Yeah. Anyway, so the whole thing is meditation. He gave him this incredible description of the Lord in the heart with all the details, and that's part of his meditation. But here Prabhupada says, it's non-different from meditating on the Lord in the sound form. Krishna is absolute. He comes in the form of the prasadam, he comes in the form of the deity, of course, he comes in the form of the books, and in the form of the mantra, of his holy name. So we have to take advantage of all of those forms. We're like, at the bottom of this well, this verse, Manasija Punajushte Labdapatos Midushte, Timanda Gahana Rupe, Hamda Sangsara Kupe, Ajadana Kaladaksha Heta Muddara Daksha Mubanaya Mamahaste Bhakti Rajum Namaste. Fallen in this deep and dark and dirty well of Maya, threatened by the snake of lust, whose venom burns like fire. Helplessly I pray, O Lord, whose strength is ne'er in doubt, place the rope of bhakti in my hand and pull me out. So that is our situation. Rupa Goswami describes it. Uddhava describes it the same way. He's praying to Krishna. Dashtam janam sampatitam bilesmin kalahina chuddhusukodatarsham. He says, my Lord, I've fallen into this dark and contaminated and dangerous snake hole. And what's the snake lie in the hole? Do you remember? Kalahina, the snake of time. So we've all been bitten by that snake. So, and yet, even though I'm in this dangerous situation, suffering, I still have this strong thirst for chudra sukha, insignificant sense gratification. Chudra is the same thing as tucha, insignificant. But I'm obsessed. Therefore, I need help. right? We need to be saved. This is the advantage of Kali Yuga, is that if we take a stock of our situation, we realize we're really in bad shape. You know, we don't live very long. We're completely confused. The climate is changing. They're threatening nuclear war at any time. The tsunami can come. Let me call out to the Lord and strive as hard as I can to get the mercy. In the Satya Yuga, it's all good. I got 100,000 years. It's a gradual process, right? But here, we don't have 1 minute to live. You see what happened in Indonesia? It's a huge shock. No one had any warning. Boom.
The earth liquefied.
Really?
Yeah, the earth liquefied during the earthquake.
Yeah, you can imagine how scary that is. We're in an earthquake zone. So, the point is that in this dangerous situation, we should just be like Uddhava. He says, Sambuddharainam kripayapavargyaya vachobharasinja mahanubhava. So he's speaking directly to Krishna. Oh, great Lord, Mahanubhava, please lift me up, completely lift me up. Sambuddharainam, by speaking to me your wonderful words, which are apavargyaya, out of your mercy, and apavargya, which bring liberation. Apavargya is the word for liberation. Vachobhar asinja, sprinkle them upon me, the nectarian word. Asincha Mahanubhava. So we can chant this every time we read Bhagavad Gita. We're approaching Krishna, please enlighten me, and then, drink in those words. It's our salvation. That is the rope. The process of bhakti is the rope, right? And the process of bhakti consists of all Krishna's instructions and everything that he's... Hare Krishna. What's up? Yeah, no, you have to be silent. Sorry. Then we'll have questions. So, that rope, all we have to do is hang on to it. He says, bring the rope. He says, really, bring the rope of bhakti close to my hands. And the implication is, I'll grab hold of it, and they'll pull me out. Grabbing hold of it is following the process of bhakti as we've been given it, strictly. Recognizing the danger of slacking off. In other words, Maya is so skilled, she puts it to sleep. She says, it's not so urgent. Why not this, why not that, why not that? But that's the challenge we have, is through hearing the Shastra, to be reminded constantly of the urgency. And we're given the means, and to take full shelter of the holy name. Prabhupada says this is especially advised to chant the Hare Krishna mantra as enunciated in the Shastra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So Prabhupada has given us so much in this purport to think about. And the pastimes, of course, when Prabhupada first started this movement, as I said, there was only those 3 books, which in and themselves are complete, but he wanted to give much more. The devotees were reading the original bhagavatams he brought. And as the movement developed, the TLC came out. Prabhupada wanted them to have the instructions of Lord Chaitanya, in essence. So he took that Chaitanya Charitamrita and milked out the essence of the instructions. That was there. And then the Gita came out, a bridge form, and then the Gita, full Gita came out, 72. But after the Gita came out, the bridge Gita, he realized, the devotees they don't really know who Krishna is. They don't have the Leela. They don't have the pastimes. So he stopped everything and he began dictating the Krishna book. And actually in 1970, I think at that 1970 Ratha Yatra in San Francisco, is when the first volume came out. A beautiful big, the story, we saw that video, where Brahmananda, was with Dynapon in Japan. He says, it has to be done by, August, when Ratha Yatra time. That's impossible. Again, you have to do it. What do you mean impossible? It has to be. And he's getting on the plane, and the limousine rolls up, and they have the books. And he sold one on the plane, and then he came and he gave them to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada sold the rest of it. You can imagine how many people wanted that book from Prabhupada's hand. But it was, you've seen those, big, beautiful silver color, and Krishna on the cover with Radha playing.
We always used to distribute those on the street.
I know. Those were the first books distributed. But, just to open that book, and there's, pictures, and there's a wonderful account of Krishna's childhood pastimes and all that stuff. It was a revelation. We used to read every day before taking rest. You take a Krishna book and milk, So, that's part of, Krishna's reaching out. He's reaching out through his pure devotee to make himself accessible and give us more ways of thinking about him. You're chanting the holy name, and there's the pastime that you just read the night before, and there's the picture describing it. Every advantage we could possibly have, so that we can think of Krishna and become absorbed in Krishna. So we have to take advantage of it. Meditate on the holy name, and from the name the form follows, the qualities, the pastimes. I remember when the CC came out, and I discovered there's the 64 qualities of Krishna. These like 20 verses, right? So I think I memorize these qualities. You're not always thinking, Ayang neta sudam yanga sarva sarlakshanam ruchitas tejasa yukto baliyan vayasandada. This hero is all the bodily limbs are perfect. Ruchiras, he's the topmost creation of Lord Brahma. That's the example. Most beautiful, attractive it could be, and very powerful, but also very shy. Who would ever think of that? Rear Chapalam. That's it. Shastra Chakshus. He sees through the eyes of Shastra. It helps to think of the qualities, just like you see, what was Mukunda Charan like? Oh, his qualities, he's this guy, he looks like this, he's nice. It's not just form, it's all qualities. And then what does he do? The 4 things define a person: the name, the form, the qualities, and what they do in their activities, right? So we have tons of all of them, that we should take advantage and think of Krishna and his pastimes, and in this way become absorbed. Okay, let me read this translation again. My dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations, as exhibited by his supreme will and personal potencies. Any questions? Yes, Prabhu. Oh yeah, there's.
First, I just want to say it's really nice to have you back, Prabhu.
It's nice to be back.
I hope your trip to Chicago was
It was a success.
So my question is, it's a question I've always had. Sometimes Krishna's pastimes, they're really far out. They're really wonderful, but they're very far out. And I've noticed that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes are a little bit more relatable sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So my question is, and I've always had this question, does attraction for Gaura Leela gradually develop into attraction for Krishna Leela?
It's supposed to. If you really study Gaura Leela, what is he doing? He's expressing, the most ardent attraction for Krishna. He's giving instructions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Sometimes he's revealing himself to be Krishna. Yes, it's meant to be that. And another thing I was reading in that amazing book was Bhaktisiddhanta's emphasis on the importance of reading the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He said at one point it's even more important than reading Bhagavatam and Gita. He said, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. But also the Chaitanya Bhagavat, which we have now with his commentary, that's also available. Yeah, totally. It's like a multi-volume work, but it's totally digitized. It's there in the database. The whole thing's in the database. But both of those, Chaitanya Bhagavat and the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because the Chaitanya Bhagavat is much easier relatable. It doesn't have so much complicated, advanced philosophy, but it has so much sweet pastimes. So both of them together are considered to be a full exposition of Lord Chaitanya's life and pastimes. So, Chaitanya Leela. I mean, you read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you're going to get plenty of Krishna Leela, an attraction. But don't neglect, the other book, the Krishna book and Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada's given us a whole program there. Yes, Prabhu.
Adding to what you were saying, Prabhupada in the purport, he's emphasizing in the present age of chanting the holy name. It brought to mind there's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, I think it's the Antya-lila, begins talking about the importance of chanting the holy name and of Sankirtan Yajna. And Jiva Goswami, the Prabhupada, is he says that Jiva Goswami states that in Kali Yuga, other methods of devotional service should be performed, but they have to be accompanied by chanting.
Yeah, that's famous.
Prabhupada says, and this is what we've done with our deity worship. Every arti has to have a kirtan.
Yeah.
Every anga of bhakti has to have kirtan.
Yeah, it's supposed to be. Yeah. Anyone else? Yes, Dravida Prabhu. Oh, the mic. Do we need to turn it up? Just turn it up on a personal level.
Haribo.
Haribo.
This verse, Ladvasa Dualivam Musamavante. That was interesting. I didn't know that it was one of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's favorite verses. So you mentioned it.
Yes, like practically the one that he emphasized the most almost.
Wow.
I'll get the passage for you.
And but it just made me think about how, because it's speaking of the urgency of Krishna consciousness, and one should be determined. But this material world is compared to a prison. It is a prison. And then I was just thinking about how, perhaps maybe there's a prisoner, and he's conditioned by a situation in our situation, millions of births, and then like some person comes and he says, "Oh, just go ahead, you're free now. Just follow this map." Yeah. And then the person is kind of like content, like, actually, this is kind of nice. I'd like to stay here. So I was thinking about, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us the process of Krishna consciousness, and knowing our situation, but still we find ourselves procrastinating, complacent, lethargic. So that kind of made me think about that.
Yeah, it's just a habit. Sometimes there's this phenomenon, I think Prabhupada mentions it in one place, where someone who's in a jail for a long time, and the prospect of getting out is scary because he's not used to it anymore, just being free. And sometimes people will get out and they don't know what to do. They're lost because so much time has gone by. And they'll commit some crime so they get back in jail because that's what they know. It's like that. You can get so habituated, and we're like that. We're used to the jail. We're used to Durga Loka, and freedom is a bit scary, but we have to kick that reluctance out and take advantage. Go ahead, Bala.
Yeah, when you're talking about a person means, the name and the form and the qualities and the activities. I was just thinking about, not to like deprecate or whatever, criticize, other religions or other religious processes, but just looking from one point of view,
Well, you have direct experience. I never did.
Yeah, I went to churches, went to so many but if you look at, the name of God, right? Of course, whatever, I guess people, they say, whatever, Allah or Yahweh or, Jehovah, something like that, but a lot of people, they don't actually, they just call God, God.
Sure.
God, He's God. But it's kind of like a position, the position of God, but it's not really like His name, right? It's just God. But anyways, you look at the name, or you look, what to speak of the form. The form's just,
no form.
Yeah.
No, the form is
form, or what's the form? Or the qualities or activities. And the activities of God, what does God do?
Punishes you.
So it's actually quite interesting, Krishna, because it's like, it's amazingly detailed.
Yes.
Everything, every aspect.
Yes.
Name,
this
form,
just this
quality,
description we just heard for 6-8 verses.
So
it's obviously the Gaudiya Vaishnav in general, and Gaudiya Vaishnav especially, conception of the absolute truth is light years beyond any of the other religions.
It's sweet complete.
Yeah. It is, and that's really what's attractive to people who are thoughtful, who have maybe been, part of other religions or dabbling here and there, and they come across this philosophy and description, and also people who are practicing, especially if some, person can really manifest some attraction for Krishna. And it's revolutionary. It awakens someone who could be a gross atheist, you know, because atheism is not really satisfying. It's just frustrating. I think even the atheists know that they're on thin ice, you know. Anyway, you're right, Balaram. We do have a great treasure and we should take advantage of it. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Anyway.